Hi everyone, welcome back to another gameplay of Infinitode 2. So let's continue with the tower guide series. Next tower in the list is going to be the Multishot tower, this one right here. So as always, we're going to analyze the main stats and abilities of this tower. We're going to see the main strengths and weaknesses against enemies, how to best place and use this tower. And then at the very end of the video, we're gonna take a look at normal research and endless research. So let's jump here into, I'm gonna just use another level as I did for Splash, because this tower is gonna have some interesting enemy weaknesses. So first of all, the cost of this tower is gonna be 70. You can see I have normal research maxed, and therefore the base cost is being reduced because of that. But if we just compare it to the previous towers we have seen so far, you can see that 70 is going to be the highest price in the game so far. Now, information button, you can see right here, the game description fires an arc of projectiles. So this tower is very similar to Splash. But in this case, rather than shooting projectiles in all directions, as the Splash tower is going to do, so it's going to shoot in a 360% degrees around the tower, this tower is going to shoot all the projectiles in an arc, so in a certain degree. All the projectiles are going to be concentrated right there. If we just analyze here quickly the 5 stats, you can see that this tower has 4 out of 5 of range, so pretty good range. Normal attack speed 3, 2 of damage, so pretty low damage. Crowd damage 4 out of 5, so this tower is good to damage multiple enemies. And then finally agility, also 3 out of 5. Effectiveness against enemies, this tower is going to do 50% more damage to fast and light enemies. It's going to do normal amount of damage to regular, venom, icy, and bosses. Then it's going to do 50% of damage to fighter, so these constructor enemies. Ignore for the time the fact that it's also written here that's going to do 50% of damage to helis and jet enemies, because in reality, without abilities, this tower cannot attack flying enemies, so that's something you should remember. And then finally here we have armored and healers that are going to receive 25% of damage. And then lastly, this tower will not be able to damage at all strong enemies. So you can see here this 0. So this is a very weakness, high weakness, a huge weakness, because these enemies are pretty common. It's not as common as regulars. So in my opinion, it's a weakness that it's not as the Splash one, the Splash tower that cannot attack regulars, but still, not being able to attack strong enemies, it's a huge handicap. Now, if we try to place this tower, we just place it close to a basic tower. You can see the differences in terms of range, especially. The range being much larger, 2.32. Of course, all these numbers on the stats are being boosted because of research. But yeah, that's just it. And then we find the other general stats of this tower, so damage, attack speed, rotation speed, projectile speed, and then we have the 2 special stats. In this case is once again projectile count, as it was for Splash. So in this case is the amount of projectiles with each attack. And remember that in this case the tower is going to shoot 7 projectiles, plus there is a 28% chance of shooting an 8 projectile, right? So that's how it works. And then we have the second special stat that's going to be shooting angle. You can see this classified in degrees, and this is very, very important because this is the arc that on the game description we read before. So this is the arc. So in 51.7 degrees is the arc in which all the projectiles are going to be shot. And now if we just start this gameplay, all right, you can see how this works. So see that all the projectiles are going to be so I'm gonna just do a couple of things here, right? So you can see that all the projectiles are shot in a certain angle. See, this is the arc, so this is the degrees, so 51.7 degrees in this case. And then of course, as the projectiles fly, because they're gonna fly in a straight line, they're gonna get further and further away from each other. And yeah, so that's how this tower works. All right. And now going through the abilities, the first one is going to allow the tower to hit to the projectiles to go through one enemy and to hit the enemy right behind. So of course this is very good, as it was for Splash. This ability is almost identical, so that's pretty much it. This is the ability that allows the tower to attack air enemies. Now without this, you can't attack. So even if here it's written 50 and 50 on helis and jet enemies, without this, you can't attack those enemies. So yeah, just remember about that. And then third ability is going to be, is going to reduce, in this case, the arc. So of the shooting angle, you can see here, see that it becomes negative. And this is very important because by becoming negative, the projectiles are going to be shot in a closer angle and therefore are more likely to hit more enemies. So I'm going to just, again, here start so you can see. So this is the normal, all right, angle on the projectiles, all right. And if I click this one, right, you can see that now the shooting angle is 35.7 degrees, so it's much smaller. So now you can see in the next attack that the projectiles are going to be closer to one another. They're going to be shot in a closer angle, in a smaller arc. See here? See how the arc is much smaller? So the projectile spread less, so you can hit more the enemies. So that's how it works. Then moving on, level 10, you unlock this other ability, this passive. In this case, you're going to do more damage to enemies that are fast. So to enemies that move faster. In this case, because of the stats I have, is 0.85 tiles per second. And yeah, so remember about fast enemies or enemies that are immune to slow, for example, icy enemies. And jet enemies, you know, all those enemies that move fast, those enemies are going to receive more damage because of this ability. And then lastly, at level 20, you unlock the ultimate, or 10% more power. So with power, you increase every single stat other than range and the special ones. And then you have the ultimate. Now the ultimate of this tower, in my opinion, it's very, very bad. And so I would never recommend to use this ultimate and to always go with 10% more power. So in that way you have more, you know, damage and attack speed, especially because this one is going to just shoot one backwards projectile with a lot of damage. So this projectile is going to do a lot of damage, but it's backwards. So it's flying in the opposite direction on where the enemies are. So of course you cannot hit any enemy, so that's why it's useless. And yeah, I'm gonna just analyze this tower as the game progresses. So I'm gonna just start here and let's take a look at the abilities. Now first of all, the combos. I always recommend going with penetration bullets because this allows the tower to simply have more crowd damage, so it's a must. The other two, it may depend. So if you need this tower to attack flying enemies because you don't have any other tower that you can use, you can go with this one. All right. If you have other towers or you don't really care, see here, these flying enemies getting through, or if you don't care about those flying enemies, then you can go with reducing the shooting angle. And the best combo is actually this one and the third one, so less shooting angle. But in case you need 100% to have this tower to attack flying enemies, as I'm going to do right now, see, so in that way I can destroy those jet enemies, then you can go also with this ability. But the best one would be to actually get penetration and then less shooting angle. Level 10, it's pretty good because you can damage even more those fast enemies. But of course, in the game, it's very important always going with a freezing tower because you want to actually slow down the enemies. It's very, very important for the late game. So even if freezing towers or even blast towers do not combo well because they're gonna make the multi-shot to lose this bonus, but even if you lose it, it's still better to go with this tower. So especially for the late game. So if you're gonna play for more than like 100 waves, you're always gonna build one one freezing tower at least, or like flamethrowers wall that can slow down, blast that can stun, even Gauss can stun. So yeah, just remember that all those things are gonna make the Multishot lose this bonus damage. And then finally the ultimate, I already discussed it before. It's always best to go with power because this backward projectile is just bad. I'm gonna just show you here in this gameplay. I'm gonna actually get it so you can see why it's so bad. But yeah, don't ever go with that, always go with more power. Now, how to best use this tower? So first of all, you can see that the further the enemies are from the tower, the more the projectiles spread out, of course, because the range is very large. So the best place to place this tower is to actually place it very close to either the beginning, so where the portals are, or just close to where the path is. So you don't want to place, for example, this tower like here. Even if the range is large, you know, you don't want to place it here or here or here, you know, in any of these spots, because you're gonna lose all these potential projectiles are gonna be wasted. You can see already here how many I'm wasting. And so yeah, you want to place this tower very close to the beginning and very close to the path, so in that way you can hit more enemies because the projectiles are closer to one another, they haven't spread out so much, and so your damage also becomes higher. So the optimal spot probably might be like one of these two, or even this one. So yeah, I just place it here because this has more power, it's a power tile. And even these ones that have more damage, you know, could also be good, but yeah, because they're further away, it's overall worse because you lose a lot of potential damage. So now I'm gonna activate this ultimate so you can see how it works. See the backward projectile right there, and you can see why it's so bad. The tower is attacking forward, so it's attacking the enemies that are on the left side, and this projectile is being thrown towards the back side. So it's completely useless. In some scenarios, maybe the very late game, when you have many enemies in the screen, you can see the tower as it's rotating can actually maybe hit some other enemies, but yeah, overall I would say that this ultimate is just bad, so don't ever get it. And yeah, this tower overall I would say that is pretty good for a early mid-game tower, but then it falls off at the late game because of the fact that it doesn't have any area damage, and just because of the fact it's so weak against enemies that in the late game are very strong. For example, strong enemies, armored, you know, healers. Those enemies in the late game are a pain, and this tower doesn't really do already a lot of damage to them, so the percentages are quite low. And yeah, for that reason I would say that this tower is not the best choice for the late game, but because of the recent nerfs to the cannon, this tower could actually be pretty good against instead of using cannon. So instead of using this one, you can use Multishot. It's going to be more expensive. I didn't say it before, but the first 7 upgrades are pretty cheap, but then the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th one are pretty expensive. So so yeah, that's something that you need to remember. And but yeah, overall I would say that this tower is a very good alternative to cannon, especially. So yeah, that's overall the main things that I have to say about this tower. Now let's just take a look at research. So on normal one, as always, you can just max every single stat. You can see here even the shooting angle. See the minus, so a smaller angle, and then more projectiles. And then of course you can just boost every ability other than the one that's gonna just give you air attacking power. And in this case you can see the level 10, this one it's the first ability, this one is the ultimate, this one is the third one. If we go to the endless research, there isn't anything new. So there isn't any new research that comes out, still the same. And of course you can further increase each stat. You can further increase it because the levels are higher, but that's just pretty much it. So you don't gain anything new. And that's it for this tower. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and see ya. Bye bye.